everyone, I'm Rather Incoherent, and today I want to talk about the infinite combos in Arkham Horror. To my knowledge, there's only one true infinite combo in Arkham Horror, and I only know of one other pseudo-infinite. But there's probably more of them that I just don't know about yet. Before I start talking about this combo, this deck, and why it's so broken, I want to talk about infinite combos at a basic fundamental level and my opinion on them. If you haven't played very many card games before, an infinite combo is the ability to play an infinite number of cards in the same turn. We're not talking about recurring the same card over and over each turn, but literally leveraging an infinitely large advantage with a series of cards that cost you nothing. Now, despite being incredibly broken, in a player versus player card game where you're playing against another human, they tend to be balanced even though they win the game when they happen. And the reason they're balanced is because the opponent can play around the fact that you have this infinite combo. They know that if they let the game go on long enough, they're going to lose. And that's part of the metagame, is understanding how to stop this combo deck, what you need to do to kill them before they go off. In other games that are single-player games like Slay the Spire, infinite combos exist, but it's very hard to get to them, and maybe you're better off not trying to build towards that and building something more reliably powerful in the early game. In Arkham Horror, that second one does apply. Maybe the infinite combo doesn't include cards that you wanted to run to begin with, and you're better off just making a deck that's better earlier and good enough late game instead of one that instantly wins once you've assembled a combo, but kind of not as good in the first couple of scenarios before you have the experience to play it. That argument falls apart, though, because of Amanda. Amanda wants to run almost every card in the infinite combo, and she's the highest draw character in the game, meaning that she's also the best at assembling the combo once it's in her deck. For every seeker other than Amanda, even though they could run every card in this deck except for Unrelenting, it wouldn't be a very good build, because you'd be handicapping yourself in the first half of a campaign, and you'd just be better off being more relevant there and less relevant later on. At least in my opinion. All that's a moot point, though. I would never run this Amanda deck, even though it's the best one at utilizing the infinite combo. The reason for that is because I believe that fundamentally, infinite combos aren't supposed to happen in Arkham. There's no opponent playing against you like you have in Magic the Gathering or Hearthstone or whatever other card game. The Mythos deck cannot provide any meaningful counterplay to an infinite combo. It's not being adjusted based on what deck you're running, and it's not built to stop this. You can argue that the same statement is true in something like Slay the Spire, where infinite combos exist and they're an important part of the game. But the difference in Slay the Spire is that what cards are available to you are random. Essentially, every game of Slay the Spire is a draft game, and as a consequence, you might never be able to get the infinite combo online. You don't have guaranteed access to this game plan, so it's not as important that it's available. It's just a way you can build your deck to give you the opportunity to get that infinite combo. But in Arkham, neither statement is true. The Mythos deck doesn't counterplay you, and you have full access to every card in the game, so there's no question of whether or not you can access the infinite combo. Arkham Horror has tabooed a lot of things, many of them involved with infinite combos or pseudo-infinite combos of days past. The big one that comes to mind being limit once per turn on Ace in the Hole and Quick Thinking. I think it's just very apparent that Arkham Horror isn't balanced around infinite combos, and that the developers, when they find them, want to taboo them out of the game. To make matters worse, infinite combos aren't fun to play. You spend the game setting up until you're ready to do it, and then you win. And I do mean you win, just like instantly. This infinite combo that you're looking at can move an infinite number of times, gain an infinite number of resources, find an infinite number of clues, and is literally unkillable by damage. Which is important because you're cycling your deck an infinite number of times, so you better be immune to that horror damage. At this point, I've made it pretty apparent that I don't like the idea of playing with an infinite combo, both as a player finding it not engaging and as a game design philosophy thing, thinking it's obviously not meant to be in the game. As a consequence of all these negative feelings I have about infinite combos, I don't rank them in my tier list. I don't acknowledge them. And the main reason for that is since they feel so blatantly like they shouldn't be in the game and the developers don't want them in the game, that they're going to get tabooed. That's just how it feels to me. And I don't really feel like there's a lot of merit in discussing a deck that's essentially just breaking the game in a way that isn't even playing Arkham Horror anymore. Having laid out what an infinite combo is and how I feel about them, let's talk about this deck in more detail. You don't need anywhere near 51 experience to play this deck. You need 2 copies of the Red Gloved Man. That's 10 experience. You need Cryptic Writings, but you don't actually need them upgraded. They work just fine at level 0. This is because it's just good to upgrade them for setting up. You do need 2 cryptic researches, so that's another 8 experience. And technically, that 18 is all you need. That said, charismas to keep lab assistants in play, unrelentings, and perceptions will all help you set up a whole lot faster. I would say that realistically for this deck, to smoothly get the combo online, you want 25-30 experience. Technically, the absolute minimum is only 18, but without charismas and unrelentings bringing you to 23, I wouldn't even be trying to assemble the infinite. And likewise, I wouldn't want to buy cryptic research as a first upgrade. I would want to get things like unrelenting and charisma and segment events that actually make me a better character in those early scenarios. Before I go into footage of gameplay, I want to talk about the individual pieces of this combo that are going to matter. The Red Gloved Man is a fast action with 4 Sanity Soak. Provided you can pay for him, he is an infinite amount of Sanity Soak because you can always play the other one from your hands. Of course, that requires you to draw him, which is no problem because you have fast action draw 3 with Cryptic Research. You'll need money, but you have fast action gain resources with Cryptic Writings. So what do you do with your infinite soak and infinite money? Well, you infinitely move with Shortcut and you infinitely gain clues with Working a Hunch. Let me go show you what that actually looks like. Now, looking at this Amanda deck, there's one thing I want to talk about first, and that's the weakness. If you have something like Indebted or something in your play area or a tarot card, one of those sorts of weaknesses, or even one that removes from the game, that's going to be fine. Likewise, if you have one that can stay in your hand and that doesn't go onto the board, that's fine. But if you have a Revelation weakness that immediately discards, it actually prevents this combo from happening. You'll see why shortly. So let's start talking about the board state that I'm showing you. If you think this board state is unreasonable, it really isn't. It's hard to imagine Amanda not getting this state at like turn 8 at the latest. She has the most insane draw in the game because she can use Unrelenting easily 4 times a turn with Eon Chart. And wouldn't you know it, if I spend my whole turn investigating, regardless of whether I pass or fail, since there's only 6 cards left, I'm going to draw all of them. It's really not hard to engineer this situation as Amanda. Between Dream Enhancing Serum, Lab Assistance, and the ability to duplicate cards like Unrelenting and Perception level 2, you have the most disgusting draw in the game. It really should not be that hard for you to do this. I think turn 8 is a comically low estimate. I could imagine getting this combo online as of turn 5 relatively consistently. Now, our turn looks like it's over. I did just use all of my actions, but remember, we don't need any actions to do this. Every single card we're going to play is fast. This Red Gloved Man really should be in my hand and not on the board. After all, if I'm starting my turn, he should have been discarded already. So let's talk about what I'm doing with this infinite combo. You'll notice I just drew 2 copies of Cryptic Writings. The funny thing is, you don't actually need the second one. The second Cryptic Writings is actually not helpful, and if you play it, it can break the combo shortly, and I'll show you why. So I gained 2 resources. Let's imagine we started at 0. I actually gained 4 because this is the better one, but let's imagine it's only giving 2. I've also taken 1 horror. We're going to immediately use that money to play Red Gloved Man, and then we're going to play Cryptic Research, which draws 3 cards, which is just this Cryptic Writings, which deals a horror, and then plays that Cryptic Writings, gaining 2 resources. And now you can see where it starts to fall apart. We play Cryptic Research, we draw our Cryptic Research and our Cryptic Writings, we trigger the Cryptic Writings, gain 2 resources, take a horror. Do it again. At this point, I'm going to stop physically performing the action because you can see what's happening. Every time I play Cryptic Research, I draw Cryptic Research, Cryptic Writings, and play the Cryptic Writings. Then I play the Cryptic Research I drew and do it again. So take a horror, gain 2 resources. Kill the Red Gloved Man, gain 2 resources. This is where it changes for the first time. But there's still only 3 cards in my discard pile. That's why you don't want to play the second Cryptic Writings. Because now, I play the other Red Gloved Man from my hand, and then I play Cryptic Research, drawing these 3 cards. And you can see we're right back where we started, but we are up 6 resources. This is infinite. I can do this as long as I want. This number could be 1,000, 1,000,000, just an infinity symbol. I have more money than I can ever use. So this number may as well not exist. This can just be an infinity symbol. I can just click on this the entire time I'm talking, and it's completely accurate. Because at any point, I can just stop what I'm doing and do this again. So what do I do with all this money? Well, it'll probably depend on the map. So let's throw down a pretty standard map from one of the scenarios. Black Star's Rise is a very, very normal map. And it's worth noting that this combo is less destructive, but still absolutely disgusting if the map has weird rules about movement, such as having to spend an action to move from location to location that's on the card as opposed to just using a move action. So now that we can see our character on an actual map, we can see that we're at a location. And instead of playing Cryptic Research just to play Cryptic Writings, we can play Working a Hunch for 2 resources. Our money's infinite, so that doesn't matter. Then we play Cryptic Research, we draw them back, we play Working a Hunch, we draw them back, over and over and over again. I get all the clues on this location. I have infinite money, so the fact that Working a Hunch costs money doesn't matter. Well, I'm out of clues on this location. What do I do now? Well, I play Shortcut, and I move to the next location. I use Working a Hunches to get these clues, Shortcut to move to the next location, over and over and over again until I hit some sort of card that says, hey, you can't move. So yeah, I just get all the clues on the map doing this. There's very little that you can say to pretend this isn't comically broken and ruining the game. And like I said, technically any seeker can run this combo, but it's clearly at its best in Amanda, where Unrelenting and Perception 2 let you get it on stupidly quickly. And the really funny thing is that my Amanda deck is literally this deck, but with a second Dream Enhancing Serum instead of Working a Hunch, and I'm politely pretending that I can't do this nonsense with the Red Gloved Man, because I can still gain an infinite number of resources and move an infinite number of times. I'm just pretending I can't because it's no fun. Now, before I leave, I do want to talk about one other infinite deck, or more accurately, one other pseudo-infinite deck. I want to talk about Joe Diamond's weird infinite combo that only he can run. And it's not a true infinite, but it is a pseudo-infinite. And just like with Amanda, the individual pieces of the combo can actually function really powerfully in him, even if you aren't playing the infinite combo. With this Joe Diamond deck, I'm running almost exclusively draw cards in my Hunch deck. I have Shortcuts as my last two cards, but they could be anything, as long as it either helps you draw or can be used at any time. As for the deck itself, well, Delay the Inevitable is a weird card to see, so let's start talking about what this deck is meant to do and what the deck looks like when it's set up. Because like Amanda, this deck will set up relatively quickly, not as fast as Amanda, and I'll show you why in a second. This Joe Diamond combo is a lot jankier than the other one. You can see I've got a few more assets, there's more setup involved, and you can notice that I've pushed my book to a rather absurd degree. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 static book boost are in play. The reason for that is because your plan is to draw your whole deck with Feed the Mind 0, or Feed the Mind 3 rather, which test book 0, and you draw by the amount you pass by. So eventually you're going to draw your deck the first time and probably end up the hand something like this. And then what you're going to do is you're going to test Feed the Mind, after playing a Delay the Inevitable, of course, because you don't want to kill yourself, and you're going to commit Perception and Detective's Cults to it, giving you +2, +3 to your book of already 9, I believe, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you're testing at 14 to 0. You draw a number of cards equal to how much you pass by, +2 for the Perception. Provided you don't auto-fail, -3, you're going to draw 13 cards in this case, which is most of the remaining deck. And I've taken a couple of cards on my Hunch deck to simulate it. I got 2 copies of No Soul and turned into 2 copies of Deep Knowledge. And then these will go to our discard pile, of course. And that would be the first action of your turn. The next thing that you're going to do, to make this a ridiculous infinite combo, is to play Ever Vigilant and 2 copies of Police Badge. That's going to cost you all your remaining resources, and that's why we have 2 copies of Relic Hunter, so that we can put them into play and then discard them. Because that was one action, but the first Police Badge gives us back those actions, and the second one gives us 2 more. You'll notice that I drew both copies of Cryptic Writings. That's good, I need the money. If I had missed them, I wouldn't be infinite this turn, or pseudo-infinite as it were. So I play both copies of this, and they have to be upgraded for this combo to go up to 8 resources. At this point, you can see that if you're just doing it once a turn, you'll draw your whole deck, you'll gain 2 resources from where you started, and you'll gain 2 actions. And you can just do Feed the Mind once every turn with this Delay the Inevitable combo and Joe Diamond, and it's really, really strong. And that's a thing I'm interested in and would be willing to play. The pseudo-infinite combo is very frustrating, very janky, and gives you a somewhat random number of actions. At this point, I'm going to ask you to take it for granted that since I'm able to draw like 13 cards in one action, you think I can draw all the combo pieces at once. The important part being, though, I removed this Feed the Mind to play the new Feed the Mind, which isn't exhausted. And at this point, I think it's easier to show you this infinite combo with some text and the cards in a specific order than it is to like physically play it out in front of you, because it gets real messy real fast. It's just started pouring down where I am. I hope it doesn't get picked up too badly on the microphone. Anyway, class is in session, so please pay attention, children, because this can be a nightmare real easily. This is the full combo beginning to end. Play Delay, tap Feed the Mind, draw your whole deck, play Soothing Melody to prevent the horror damage that you're killing yourself with, play both Cryptic Writings when you draw them, so this should really be in the other order, play Ever Vigilant, play the Police Badges, play Feed the Mind, rinse, repeat. Now, I've got the negative effects on top of them, the positive effects on the bottom, and I've totaled the negatives and positives. You'll see that the resources and actions are the same, but the horror isn't. I'm healing 1 horror every time I do this, and that's the only net change. So what I'm actually doing is every time I've taken 2 horror, so every other time I do this combo, I use the Soothing Melody combo, and all I do is heal myself. And then the next time through, I simply don't play the Soothing Melody. And the effect of that is that it changes our total negatives to -3 actions, and our total positives to nothing. So by alternating those 2 combos, you heal yourself of all the horror 1 cycle, and then you gain 1 action the next cycle. So the net result of this janky nightmare is you pull from the Chaos Bag twice, and if you don't auto-fail, you get an action. And you just do that until you auto-fail. 1 action, 2 actions, 3 actions, and it just goes on for a while. On average, since you have an 18 token Chaos Bag, it's going to take you about 18 pulls to hit the auto-fail. And as a consequence, that means that there we go. And as a consequence, since you only get half as many free actions as you do successes, you're going to get about 9 actions. You might only get 1, you might get nothing if you auto-fail immediately, you might get 100. Now, this isn't infinite, but it does give my 9-book Seeker 7 extra actions, and this is a little bit below average. So is this fun? God, no. But can I pretend for a second that it isn't incredibly powerful? No. No, I can't. It's very stupidly strong. And I'll do it again to demonstrate while I finish talking about this that in reality... Alright, so there's a bad variance one. This turn, we only got 1. Let's see how it goes next turn. But the point is that, like, something you're afraid of all the time is auto-fail, but when you actually make a character built around not hitting auto-fail, the average result shows you that auto-fail really isn't that common. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 actions. I haven't had an above-average result once. I'm going to cut to the first time I finally got a good result with this, just so you can see how silly it can be. It took me 6 more attempts before I finally got something that was substantially above average, and I got an 18 extra action turn. Like, no, this isn't infinite, but it's more than good enough. Anyways, I've been rather incoherent. This is one of the silliest things you can do in the whole game. I wouldn't recommend doing it, I don't think it's fun or engaging, and it will probably be tabooed in some way in the future. If I had to guess how, I would say that since both combos rely on cryptic writings, I would expect cryptic writings to get a once per turn taboo. But even though this isn't infinite, it's insanely strong. Anyways, I've been rather incoherent. This has been some absolute nonsense, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more Arkham Horror content like this, and I'll see you in the next one.